What's going on, everybody? My name is Eason and welcome back to another video. And today, we're going to be getting into legitimacy for AP Comparative Government and Politics, topics 1.8 and 1.9. Let's get started. So legitimacy is whether a government constitutes believe their government has the right to use power in the way that they do. So basically is if the government does stuff that we like, that's good. If it doesn't, that's bad. Sources of legitimacy for both democratic and authoritarian regimes can include popular elections, as well as constitutional provisions. We can see Nigeria has huge sources of legitimacy through its elections recently and the 1999 Constitution. We also see nationalism as a source of legitimacy, which is the identification to a nation and the support for that nation's beliefs and place in political culture and government. Some other sources of legitimacy are tradition, government effectiveness, economic growth, ideology, religious heritage, dominant political parties' endorsement, and various organizations within the country like public protection and the police. Let's look at Russia, which has a dominant party running the country, United Russia. Russia has an electoral system for the legislative and executive branches, so we can see that the country supposedly has some legitimacy as people are being selected by the people, which is supposed to be a source of legitimacy. However, what is the opposite is the proved unfair elections in the country, which may make people not trust the government. In Iran, the 1979 revolution and the common religion are both sources for legitimacy. Mexico and Nigeria both have a constitution as a source of legitimacy. People in both these countries support their constitution and take good pride into it. In China, we see the highest gross domestic product and GDP growth rate out of our 6 core countries. They have the second highest GDP in the world, too. This economic growth has provided a reinforcer for legitimacy in the country, besides just being a source. Other reinforcers of legitimacy are peaceful resolution of conflicts like protests, peaceful transfer of power, devolution, and reduced government corruption. In Iran and China, many protesters have been killed for speaking out and criticizing against the government, which doesn't reinforce legitimacy. It makes the government less transparent. They can also be seen as hiding something, which oftentimes is the case. There's been many events in China that are now censored in the country that the Chinese government doesn't want their citizens to know about. Remember, those governments also control their media outlets. In the United Kingdom, however, peaceful protests are oftentimes encouraged as long as they don't interfere with the civil rights of other people. We typically see tradition as a big source of legitimacy in the UK. Questions about the integrity of election results across the core countries can lead to protests that may weaken legitimacy in any ongoing democratization process. In Russia, which has evidence of democratic characteristics like having an electoral system in the first place, has had some undermines of legitimacy in 2011 with protests breaking out over the election being unfair and having voter fraud. No surprise, but this led to tons of arrests of opposing party members. People don't want to know they're going to be arrested for speaking out against the election and being part of another political party. No trust for the government there. Devolution and delegation of power to regional governments can enhance or weaken legitimacy, creating both opportunities and obstacles to resolving social, political, and economic issues by promoting policy innovation, matching policies to local needs, improving policies through competition, increasing political participation, checking central power, and allowing better representation of religious, ethnic, or minority groups. We see this a lot in the United Kingdom with the Scottish people, with different Scotland devolution acts like the Scottish Act of 1998, which created a Scottish Parliament and government of ministers. This can allow Scotland to create policies for local and national needs. Now, all good things can have bad effects or outcomes. With devolution, it can create contradictory policies, potentially making policy implementation more complicated and efficient because there's more bodies to go through, allowing inequality between regions, increasing competition for resources, and creating ethnic and local tensions. We can probably find this in Scotland as there's different laws for the rest of the United Kingdom, and they may be using more or less ocean resources than the rest of the United Kingdom. We already seen cultural and religious differences between the people in Ireland and Northern Ireland, and that led to Ireland leaving the United Kingdom and becoming its own state. So we might know what's going to happen if tensions grow. An increase in corruption, reduced electoral competition, and serious problems such as poor economy or serious conflicts can all undermine legitimacy because the government might be seen as failed or not supporting the people. In China, many people disagree with the president's results to COVID-19, so legitimacy was undermined. It also didn't help that many people were arrested and censored for this criticism. China has a 99.3% conviction rate for all crimes. Not really good for legitimacy. Brexit created tensions in the United Kingdom, which undermined legitimacy for the Conservative Party on how to handle it and complete Brexit. And that's the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to get into our last EP Comparative Government video for Unit 1 in the next video. So go check that out. Please like and subscribe. It's free. It really helps me out. In the link in the description down below, I do have an AP Comparative Government practice resource for all of you to use. It's free and very, very cool. I'll see you guys in the next video, though. Adios.